Hey y'all, Bridget Chandler here at Athens State University, and the purpose of today's video is just to give you a very brief overview of Module 1 in the Coordination and Supervision of CTE course. So Module 1, when you go into your modules and you can click on and you will see all of them open up for you, but Module 1 is the Policies and Administrative Guidelines. And this particular module is worth 100 of your total 1,000 points for the course. And it just starts out with a brief introduction that career and technical education is structured from a national and then state, regional, and then local level. So just to give you we're kind of assuming that you're starting with not a lot of background or information on how career and technical education is actually structured. It's often an umbrella term. People will often say career and technical education, and they use this, and it kind of encompasses, not always, but sometimes, adult education, post-secondary level career and technical education, the secondary career and technical education, workforce development sometimes kind of falls under that, and then also specific workforce training. And partially this is because the way it's structured from that national, state, regional, and then local level, and the way that we're funded. So because those are connected, then sometimes people use it more of a blanket umbrella type term. But you will see when you start looking at how the structure works as far as the national, state, and regional, and then your local level, that here in Alabama that we are zoned by workforce development regions, and so that's often how the programs that are in your area, how they're determined, is by the workforce development region, along with your advisory councils, your local business and industry needs, and how those are expressed to you guys. So the essential questions for this module, here's what we're going to be thinking about, is how is career and technical education coordinated and supervised? That's kind of a given. And then who authors policies and guidelines for CTE administration? So who is the person doing the coordination and supervision, but then who tells those people, who gives those guidelines of what that's supposed to look like who can be an administrator in career and technical education, and then how are those folks trained specifically for their work. So just be kind of thinking about that. The objectives that are tied back to the student learning outcomes for this module are for you to examine state and federal administrative guidelines for CTE, and then interpret institutional, local, state, and federal policies. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And some of this, because you guys are all from such diverse backgrounds and in different places and in different work, you're going to be looking at your own institutional and local policies and things more specifically, and you'll bring those to us as a group. All right, so there are required materials and supplemental materials within this Blackboard folder. And then it tells you again on the outside of the module that you have items to complete. For this module is one discussion forum with a 100-point value. So once you click on the module, that's hopefully you've made it to that point because you're watching this video. But you'll see this video as your first item, as your materials that are provided, and then another supplemental video that I found on YouTube that's just what is the definition of technical education. So it's really short, it's just like 45 seconds just to give you a little overview. And then there's required readings for you. And it says required reading, but actually the first link is to the careertech.org website. So it's going to take you to all sorts of things. So there's not one specific thing at that website that you are responsible for reading and knowing, but I want you to be familiar with the website, and then also to look to it for information on those guidelines and policies and how things are structured within career and technical education. The next link for you is the Alabama State Department of Education, the CTE Administrative Code. So that kind of helps answer those questions about who authors and who decides what administrative work is necessary. There's a link for you, and it is a very extensive link to the actual code. So again, you're not responsible for knowing all of the information there, but just so that you can read through it and you know where it is and that it does exist. The very next link is pertaining more to the community college level, and it's the link to the Alabama Community College System's Perkins Guidebook. Again, tremendous amount of information. You are not responsible for knowing all of the information within that guidebook, but I do want you to know that it exists and that you can kind of skim over it and just kind of see what's there, like the administrative code. The next required link is for the ACTE Online State Policy Review. So this takes you to the ACT Online website, and it's the State Policy Review. So again, once you get to that website, there is so much information there. It's not that you are going to be responsible for all of the information, but I want you to know that it's there, and I want you to know the vast variety and depth of knowledge that is available to you. Then we go to some supplemental things. There's a I chose this particular YouTube video because it goes over Perkins funding at Durham Tech, which that has nothing to do with me or you or necessarily where you are, but just because they explain what Perkins funding would enable them to do at Durham Tech. So I wanted you to hear how Perkins funding affects other institutions, so it might help you to understand how it affects your institution or institutions in your area. Then we have a CTE 101 video that just talks about a little bit about CTE, just to give you an overview. I went ahead and linked Baldwin County Public Schools, which is in the state of Alabama, down in South Alabama, their CTE resources page, just because I think they do a great job on their page with providing the P12 CTE resources in one accessible place, and they're clearly labeled, and so you can easily click on them. But anyway, that's just where I decided to pull those from for your information. And then there's a really good article on, and it's called An Evolving Set of Values-Based Principles for Career and Technical Education. So that I do label it as supplemental, but it's a really good read, and I highly suggest it. There's a supplemental video for you where Stan Litlow from IBM, he discusses the Perkins funding and the importance of it being reauthorized. So again, just to hear a different perspective, to hear someone from business and industry talk about that federal legislation and the importance of that, I wanted you all to have that resource so that hopefully you'll have time to listen to it. It's only about 5 minutes. Okay, so once you have been able to go through these materials and any others, always feel free to share. Please share if you find a great video, a great article, or website that you think would benefit us for this particular course or any area. Send them to me, and I would love to be able to add them as we are going through here. The last link within this module, it says discussion forum, and you will click there, and it takes you to the discussion forum area instead of straight to the discussion board. The reason that it does that is there's an old video of me posted explaining how the discussion board works, how the forum should work, and what the expectation is, and about the information provided for you. There's the instructions on how to post. There's netiquette policies, examples of acceptable and unacceptable posts, and they're not specific to this class, but they're there for you because I want you all to know that there are I think there's only three discussion board forums, discussion board posts that are worth 100 points each for this course, and this is the only assessment we have for this module. So it's in discussion board form when it could be written in a paper, but I wanted everyone to be able to see what everyone else was saying and what you found out about the organization of CTE administration. So once you click on discussion boards, it's going to take you inside where you did your introduction, and then the second one down says module. After reading through module 1, you need to address the 4 following areas in an original forum post. So you're going to create a new forum, and you're going to address each of the 4 areas that are listed for a possible of 20 points for each of the 4 areas, totaling 80 points. Then once you have posted your original discussion, then you will go in and read some of your classmates and their original posts, and then comment, respond to, provide insight, ask questions. In other words, interact, like as if we were sitting in a classroom. So it's kind of like if you were to think about this for a classroom activity, it would be like an oral presentation on the 4 areas listed, and then the questions and the responses that hopefully we all would have if we were in a regular classroom, because that's my goal of setting this up. So from the posted reading materials and your professional experience, how do you see CTE coordinated and supervised? So what have you ran across and encountered? Number 2, nationwide and locally, who authors policies and guidelines for CTE administration? Those are our 2 essential questions kind of restated. Third, explore your workforce development region to find local policies on CTE programs and tell us about them. So have they changed? What has been recommended? How are they tied to your workforce development region? And your understanding of it. There's not like it's really a right or wrong answer to any of these, because this is supposed to be your original thoughts here. Then finally, the 4th area, in your own words, explain your understanding of how adult education, post-secondary level CTE, secondary CTE, workforce development, and then specific workforce training are all connected, or if you think they are or not, or, again, all 4 of these areas, you should have something to say about them, but there's really not a right or wrong answer. It's your understanding, it's your experience, and that's what I want to hear, and I want you to share with our class. So I hope that makes sense to you of how we're assessing the content of Module 1, and that's kind of the long and short of all of it. So if you have any questions at all, let me know, and I will try to clarify it as much as I can. I hope that this has not been too long either. All right, you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and stay warm.